Okay, this is the reading test number 3 from IELTS book number 8. On the left hand side is the text, and on the right we're going to be looking at the answers. At the questions. I haven't seen this before, like I have, with all my other videos. So we'll be making, I'll probably be making or finding the same problems that you do when you do this test yourself. And so I encourage you to not completely rely on my answers, because as you may have seen from my previous video of the listening from book number 8, test number 3, I actually made 5 mistakes. So the same thing is going to probably happen with this test as well. So always go to the end of the exam to double check that the answers are correct. Okay, so we'll be skimming mostly. So about 6 or 7 minutes per text to skim, and then the rest of the time we'll be answering the questions. Okay, let's start. What do we know about lightning? Okay, so that's lightning in the air and striking back, hitting back with lasers. Sorry, by the way, it is 11:54, so 12:54 we will stop. Okay, now always read the first paragraph and the first line of each paragraph, and then we'll talk about anything else. So seldom is the weather more dramatic than when the electro death and serious injury, 500 people each year in the United States alone. Has the terrifying dice with death. Out in the open, a lone golfer may be a lightning bolt's most inviting target, and there is damage to property too. Lightning damage costs American power companies $100 million a year. Okay, so notice I've underlined capitalized words and numbers, as well as anything else important in the first paragraph. Now we'll look at the first line from each paragraph. Before we do that, we're going to look at the questions here. So here are the questions. The main topic, sorry, a bit smaller. Don't look at the distractors, they are trying to distract you from the actual answer, so just look at the main points here. According to the text, every year lightning does what? Okay, I can see some numbers there, but let's ignore that for the moment. And 3 researchers at the University of Florida and the University of New Mexico receive, are using, are employed, are in position. Okay, now let's have a look at the rest of these here. Choose no more than 2 words. Financial support, something about money. Advantage of the technique. Advantage. Used to do what? The main difficulty associated with using Lakeland is related to it's what? It's something or other. And this one here, this is useful to use. It's a sort of summary, and one of the best types of question tasks to use to make sure you understand the text. Well, see, now this is just from one paragraph. We can probably find it soon. So in this method, and then used to removing electrons and directed at what? In order to control the method which is less dangerous than using. So it's a comparison. As a protection for the lasers, the beams are aimed firstly at protection for the lasers. Okay. Alright, don't look at those are distractors, just look at the question. And the last one, yes, no, not given. These are dangerous to look at because at least one of them is rubbish, the other one might be wrong. So now let's have a look at the text itself, bearing in mind these are the answers here. Sorry, these are the questions. So researchers are planning to hit back. Okay, now we're going to be looking for honey lexis. That's things like contrastives and emphasis markers and things like this, discourse markers, conjunctions. So anything else, otherwise ignore it. Okay, nothing there. The idea of forcing storm clouds to discharge their lightning on comets is not new. 1960s. Florida, University of Florida. There's this EPRI somewhere around here. It's down here, number 4. California EPRI. States. Bernstein. Okay, bad behavior. But while rockets are fine for research, they cannot provide the protection from lightning strikes that everyone is looking for. Protection, fine for research. Each 40% failure rate. Here's a rhetorical question. It's related to honey Lexus. Backed behavior. It's probably about money. I think there's an answer there. 500,000 invested so far. 20 years ago in high-powered lasers, revealing their ability to extract electrons out of atoms and create ions. There's an answer for one of these up here. Here's a honey Lexus. If before as well. Okay, this is the that's the paragraph to look for the summary. Instead, to stop ideally, this is all honey Lexus. Okay, we'll come back to that. Stumbling block, a problem. There's a big stumbling block. However, it's a sort of hidden colon, as in I'm going to explain what the problem is. So hidden colons, you should follow on to the next line. It's a monster, it takes up a whole room. It's a very monster, as in it's very big. Cut down the size. Okay. Right, Bernstein says a lot of interest from power companies, but predicts 50 to 100,000 each. Other signs of lightning switch at their fingertips easily. There's a honey Lexus there. Honey Lexus, not just, but so there's a relationship there. Another honey Lexus if we might affect the weather. And perhaps we'll be able to confront some problems. Okay, nothing there. Right, so let's have a look at this. The main topic discussed in the text is damage caused, no effect of lightning and power supplies, no control lightning strikes, and laser techniques to control lightning strikes, try to control lightning strikes or research. They want to eventually control it. Okay, so it must be laser, because that's the title, isn't it? According to the text, every year lightning there's those numbers again, the 500 100 million, so that's wrong. 500 people in the United States alone. Throughout the world, that's wrong. Kills and injures many golfers. I think damage to buildings during thunderstorms. Damage to property too. 2A. Researchers at the University of Florida and the University of Mexico. So, Florida and New Mexico. Florida here, New Mexico here. Okay. Backed by EPRI. There's this EPRI again. Support from EPRI and backed by EPRI also. So they receive funds from the same source. Backed and supported in this relationship obviously means finances. So the EPR receives financial support from, so here we've got it, funded by power companies. The advantage of the technique being developed by deals is that it can be used to to discharge lightning safely. Safety is basic right. I want to put the expensive equipment at risk. Okay, two. How many? Well, no, then more than 2 words. Discharge lightning. 2. Okay, so ignore that. Can be used. 2 words. Safely. Be used safely. Okay, so be careful with doing that. That can really throw you. The main difficulty associated with using laser equipment is related to its size. Cut down the size. This monster takes up a whole room. Okay. Size. Okay, then number 7 on this method. Okay, so we've got it here. By removing ions from atoms, extract electrons out of atoms. Oh, we'll put atoms here, so B, sorry. So B. This laser is then directed at storm clouds. In order to control electron, a method which is less dangerous than using directed at a mirror and from there into the sky. D, sorry, because that's dangerous, whereas the mirror is less dangerous. So at mirror, in order to control it, a method which is less dangerous than using the one that goes directly than using storm clouds. Using. Hang on. As a protection on the lasers, the beams are aimed at mirrors. Okay, we're still stuck with 8 now. This laser is then directed. Okay. Laser generated line of ionization. Less dangerous than using. Okay, cloud zapper. That's what this is. The thing that uses the mirror is the cloud zapper. Ideally, this would be cheap enough to install our own. Okay, so not that one. Rockets. Where are we looking at? Oh, I see. I need to look up. This is dangerous. See, I wasn't looking up here. While rockets are fine for research, they cannot provide protection from lightning strikes that everyone's rockets cost around 55. Okay. It's a bit strange to use the word then. Okay, anyway. That's the answer there. Else we'll be in trouble. Okay, power companies have given dealers enough money to develop this laser. No, not quite. Not yet come up with the 500 million. Not yet. No. Obtaining money to improve will depend on tests in real storms. It says will be needed to develop a commercial system, making lasers smaller yet cheaper. Cannot say I have the money yet, but I'm working on it. Forthcoming test wheels will be a turning point. If all goes well, an avalanche of interest. Obtaining money to improve the laser will depend on tests in real storms. So let's make it into a question to make it clearer. Will obtaining the money to improve it depend on tests in real storms? No, it will depend on making it smaller. Smaller and cheaper. EPA will be needed to develop a commercial system by making. So in order to get the 5 million, they will need to make the lasers smaller and cheaper. So that's a no as well. No, it will depend on making it smaller and cheaper. Where the forecaster intends interested in deal system. Avalanche of interest if it goes well. And they must have done tests in real storms already, so that's not true. Okay, nature of genius. Right, let's have a look at these questions here. So the nature of genius. What do we know about genius? Something about intelligent people and how it comes about. Okay, we've spent 20 minutes on number 1 already, so this is going to be tricky. There's always been an interest in geniuses. Apparently the word genius comes from the genus family and genus begetter, maker of families, head of the family. Genius was concerned with the ability to perpetuate itself. Genius came to resemble characteristics enhance an individual's highest attribute derived from genius or guiding spirit. Today people still look to stars or genes, astrology, genetics, and hope to finding the source of exceptional abilities, personal characteristics. Okay. Which 5 of these beliefs are supported by the writer of the text? 5 of them. Okay, they're all going to be tricky. They're all going to try and take away your understanding. That's true, false, not given. Also a dangerous one to look at. So let's have a look at this one. No, that's passage 3. So this is particularly tricky, this one, because you don't have any questions that'll help you here. Okay, the concept is become part of our culture. Envy them and we mistrust. Envy and mistrust, that's related to this word ambivalent. Okay, any honey Lexus? Okay, we'll look at that. Right, 19th century saw considerable interest in the nature of genius and produced not a few studies, not a few, I mean many, very famous prodigies, perhaps for us to date. However, the difficulty with it is that they are not able, they're not what we would call norm referenced. They're not norm referenced. In other words, when, for instance, information is must take into account information from other historical sources about how common or exceptional they were at the time. For instance, infant mortality rate was high and life expectancy much shorter than today. Home tutoring was common, bullying, corporal punishment common. For the most part, members of privileged classes. It was only with the growth of pediatrics and psychology in the 20th century on objective and not always very scientific basis, if not always. Okay, so that's quite important, I think, from that. Geniuses, however, are defined, however they are defined. Oh, sorry, not, that is not a honey lexical honey lexis there. Oh, the true genius is a man of large general powers. Because we doubt if all musicians of genius could become scientists or genius. There's no doubt. What we appreciate, enjoy, or marvel at in the works of genius, or the achievements of prodigies, are the manifestations of skills or abilities which are similar to, but so much superior to, and similar to, but what they're okay, to think of genius and reasonable. Before we try to imagine what they mean here, they can explain. We may, but we also recognize the price they paid in terms of subservience, single-mindedness, dedication, restrictions on their personal lives, demands on energy and time. Tricky one. Okay, so 5 of these, oh God, okay. Let's take out the rubbish ones. That's not always reveal the topic. Difficulties, develop their greatness through difficulties. Natural leaders, not necessarily. People never appreciate true genius. That's not true. Gifted people are hard to live with, not necessarily. Genius is inherited, not necessarily. Genius can be easily destroyed by discouragement. Didn't see that. That's not true. Always reveal itself. Exhausted. Have a responsibility to use them. Gifted people should use their gifts. but cause great difficulties of adjustment later in their lives. So that's not true. Burn too brightly, burn out. Defective maneuver, that intellectuals are impractical, that prodigies burn too brightly too soon, that gifted people are eccentric, that they are physical weaklings, and there's a thin line between genius and madness, and that genius runs in families. Mythology of giftedness. It is popularly believed that people are. So they are saying this is all not true. Genius runs in families, not true. Which 5 of these beliefs are reported by the writer of the text? Beliefs. Oh God, not what he believes, but these are beliefs. Oh goodness, so start again. So here they all are, all in this paragraph. It's not that difficult. Start again. So, genius is inherited, talents shouldn't be exhausted, truly gifted people are talented in all areas. That's not one of the beliefs. They think they don't need special help. Genius goes unrecognized and unrewarded. People never appreciate true genius. Practical. They're eccentric. Gifted people. The responsibility to use them makes them wise. And wise, could you let me? They should be natural leaders. Do you think that's related to wise? I don't have time to think about this. They're eccentric, difficult to live with. Adversity makes them wise. Sorry, that's right, adversity. So, gifted to develop their greatness through difficulties. Okay, goodness me. What a long time. Okay. We have to take into account the uniqueness of the person's upbringing. Yes, I know that's true because of this norm references and all this thing here. 19th century studies of genius lack both objectivity and proper scientific approach, 19th century. That's also true, it's related. True genius has general powers capable of excellence in any area. False. I know that because I looked at it here. Something about become scientists or vice versa for number 21. The skills of ordinary individuals are in essence the same as the skills of prodigy skills, but so much superior. So skills are similar to but superior. True. The ease with which truly great ideas are accepted and taken for granted fails to lessen their significance. Accepted. Something about Einstein became commonplace knowledge for school children. So the ease in which they are accepted and taken for granted fails to lessen their significance. This does not minimize the supremacy of their achievements. True. True. Giftedness and genius deserve proper scientific research into their true nature so that all talent may be retained for the human race. Proper scientific research. So the process of defining them and placing them in context about whatever you should never delude us to believe that gifted children. Not given. Nothing but that. Genius have to pay a high price to achieve greatness. Yes, because of all this here. To be a genius is worth a high personal cost. Is being a genius worth the high personal cost? Make it into a question. Personal cost. Envy their achievements and fame. It's not given. I don't think so. It should be down here because we've got to. It should be here, but I don't see anything. Because we've done 25 and that's found. It's usually in order, so I'm going to say not given, which is unusual because we've got no. I've got one false. Okay, I thought they were all true. Okay. Passage 3. How does the biological clock tick? Now, biological clock, at least from my understanding, is that when a woman feels the need to have children, but it could. This is probably a narrow view. So how does it tick? Let's read the first paragraph. Our lifespan is restricted. Everyone accepts this as biologically obvious. Nothing lives forever. However, in the statement we think of artificially produced technical objects, products which are subjected to natural wear and tear during use. This leads to the result that at some time or other the object stops working and is unusable. Okay, but are the wear and tear and loss of function of technical objects and the death of living objects really similar or comparable? Okay, let's have a look at these. So be careful with these. If it's already been done, always take it out, because that can be really, can mess with your mind. Limitations of lifespan. Right, biological clock. These longer ones tend to be the answers, or some of the answers somewhere. Fundamental differences. With these honey Lexus, like fundamental rates to important or essential and despite. Okay, let's look at some other types of questions. They might be useful. Objects age in accordance with the principles of and of. So principles of through adapt better. Theory of evolution. The what would. The wear and tear theory applies to both artificial and biological systems. Are they really similar or comparable? Living compared to technical, artificial. Okay, oh, that's yes, no, not given. So be careful of those types of questions that can throw you. Okay, so let's have a look back a bit faster. This question up here. Are dead bodies static close systems always? What do they mean by this? A hidden colon. It's always so. Follow in the next sentence. Is always the basic material. It's worn down and becomes older. Okay. Although the same law holds. Not. I don't know the meaning of this word, and I doubt you do either, but we can guess it. Although the same law holds for living, the result of this law is not in the same way. Okay, so I think we can answer one of these questions here. They're not related. As long as the ability to renew itself, it could be actually become older without aging. Okay. Anything else here? Thus, our bodies continuously exchange old substance for new. The water molecules are always different. Okay, spring water. Alright, thus, aging and death should not be seen as inevitable, particularly as the organism possesses many mechanisms for repair. Nevertheless, restricted lifespan, aging, and then death are basic characteristics of life. The reason for this is because of changes. Basic problem of evolution, something related to one of the questions here. Every organism has a lifespan which is highly characteristic. Another hidden colon. Complete. Finish reading. There are striking differences in lifespan between different species. With one species, the parent is relatively constant. For example, although anything else there? If a lifespan is a genetically determined biological characteristic, it is logically necessary to propose the existence of an eternal clock, which in some way measures and controls the aging process, which finally determines death as a last step in a fixed program. Comparison, lexical, honey-lexis, like the lifespan. And then another comparison. In comparison to the lifespan, this relationship is inverted. The longer the organism, the larger the organism, the lower its rate. Not only for birds. High life, captivity, experience life. Twice as long. Okay, men live longer. Forms from the above that sparing use of energy should extend life. They do not prolong life. Extreme high performance sports. Experience will show that to live in this way should not increase the life. Also, okay, so sports here, low metabolism, okay, low metabolism, internal clock, that might be this one here. Characteristic lifespan. Should not be seen as inevitable. So repair is the key here. Renew itself. Okay. So aging process of men and women is beneficial. Stable life despite improvements. Energy. Objects and organisms. It's not fundamental differences. BI, IX. Prolonging your life, that's the one down here. Adequate sleep, general balance, personality, etc., etc. So G, prolonging your life, IV. Why don't biological clock? It could be this one here. Internal clock. No. Energy consumption. Something about F, I think. Because we've got this energy here, the first one. Different species. Modes of development of different species. Striking differences between different species. Well, whether one striking differences. Modes of development, different species. This is just an example. It's just an example with men and women, so I'm going to say that doesn't fit. 3 more. Repair of genetic material. Repair. C. X. Why dying is beneficial? I don't think that's right. Stable lifespan despite improvements. Stable lifespan. Oh yes, this is 1,000 years. Thousands of years despite improvements. So there we go. D. VI. So we've got the last one. Where is it? An eternal clock. I think that's the biological clock. I. Right. Thermodynamics. Physical chemistry. Age. Older. Chemistry. And thermodynamics. Through no more than 2 words. Okay, so I could have put physical chemistry, but anyway. Through mutations, organisms can adaptation to the environmental conditions. Can adapt. Either adapt, here it is. Theory of evolution. This is the basic problem. Immortality would disturb the system. It needs room for new and better life. Immortality. Now that relates to the question. Death are the basic characteristics that are the reason for this. Adapt to regularly replaced by new types better because of changes in genetic material. These means new. Okay, so C. Let's just go back up to C. I think that might be benefits of death. X repair of genetic material. No, that's wrong. The main thing is benefits of death. I think because we've got a summary of everything here with the word this, so that's the essential meaning there. Agree with the views of the writer. Reading passage 3. Okay, the word. No. It's not in whatever that word means. So, no. It's possible for a biological system to become older without aging. Yes. Can yourself, like some animals. Yes. Within 7 years, about 90% of the humans replaced as new. Well, 7 years. I mean, these ones we've already. That may well be true, but it's not given here. Conserving aging may help to extend a human's life. I know that from the bottom. With the difference between women and men. Well, because the men are more energetic. Okay, that's with how many? 4 minutes to spare. So, I'll be back in a second. I'm just going to put the answers up. Okay, let's check the answers here. So, answers on the left and text on the right. So, we've got 1D, 2A, 3A. Good. Power company is correct. Safely and size is correct as well. Then number 7, we've got B, we've got C, we've got G, and we've got D. It's correct. Was a tricky one there. Sorry, D. And then no. Depend. Test storms. This is yes. And this is not given. So let's have a look back at these answers. Okay, so the answer for this one was yes. Number 12 was yes. So, will obtaining money to improve the lasers depend on tests and real storms? Yes, this leading project was back to try to use lasers to discharge lightning safely, and safety is a basic requirement, so no one wants to put themselves. Just emerging from the laboratory. From the laboratory. Invested so far, so it's not in real storms. And weather intensely interested weather forecasters, so that's not given. And this was this word here. Predicts an avalanche of interest. Well, we don't know if it's weather forecasters, so I didn't read that carefully. And also it's not a. This suggested is actually true. I mean, whereas this word here is predict, so that's a problem here. Okay, nature of genius. B, C, F, H, and J. Sorry, B, C, F, H, and J, all of them correct. 19 is true. we've got true, false, true, true, not given, true, not given, true, false, true, true, not given, true, given. Just double check that. Yes, okay, so that's correct. Question 27. IX. Two. Okay, good. And then the last one's down here. Chemistry and thermodynamics. Physical chemistry. Oh. I thought I would be clever and just put the one word. There's obviously a difference between physical chemistry and normal chemistry, so that's incorrect. This is fine. But always better to write the whole thing in if you're allowed 2 words, because that's just a silly mistake. I'm trying to save time. Adapt, immortality, and this is no, yes, not given, and yes. So 3 mistakes, 1 very silly mistake, and 2 others which I hadn't read the question properly for. I hope that's useful, and feel free to leave some comments at the bottom with any suggestions.